Hello out there to all of you cheeky little book nerds, and welcome to my channel where I sit and talk about the books I like. My name is Daniel and I am the Barbie Book Boy. Really, what better way to pass the time trying to recover from my holiday respiratory infection than by reading a little book called The Artist of Blackberry Grange by Paulette Kennedy. This book was a slippery slope of suspense that really helped to take my mind off of my failing immune system. So you know what? Grab your most treasured emotional support fashion doll and let's just dive right in. It's Kansas in the summer of 1925. And Sadie's life is a chasm of despair and dusty, unbearable heat. Central air wasn't really a thing yet all over the place, so think about that next time you want to romanticize the past, especially when considering the amount of clothing that everyone was wearing all the time. Nary a tank top or flip-flop in sight. Anyway, Sadie is devastated because her mom recently kicked the bucket and her married fiance just dumped her. No, you heard that right. Sadie went and got herself all tangled up with a taken man, and it hasn't worked in her misguided favor. I mean, how did she expect this to go? Married men can be so fickle. Just ask their wives. But there's some good news. Her great aunt Marguerite has dementia and she's in need of someone to look after her. Okay, let me clarify this. Great Aunt Marg is a famed bohemian artist with a giant mansion down in Arkansas. So, more unbearable hot weather, this time with humidity. Yay. But Sadie's newly single and out of options. So, she abandons her room at the shady boarding house in town and hops a train due south. Because she's nothing if not opportunistic. Okay, well maybe I'm being a little unfair. Let's reframe it by saying she's ready for a fresh start. She's ready for an escape from her fault-finding family, and she's ready to escape her married, fickle ex-fiancé. Now, Sadie hasn't actually seen Great Aunt Marg since she was a kid and would go visit her in the summers. But she was always fascinated by and loved her kooky aunt, and even though her life is currently an undeniable flop, what with her married man leaving her for his wife and all, a part of her is excited to reconnect with this spitfire of a woman, even though she's basically crash landing on her doorstep out of complete desperation without really having been extended an invitation, like proper society dictates. But whatever, she's family. What's her great Aunt Marg gonna do? Refuse to board her for free after 12 years of not visiting? No flaws in this plan. However, once she arrives, Sadie doesn't exactly find the spunky, vibrant old gal that she remembers. Aunt Marg is, well, having a disagreement with her cognizance. She's taken complete leave of her senses. Her faculties are an exercise in futility because dementia, but her artistic ability has remained brilliantly intact. And she's got this penchant for painting portraits of past lovers, for which she is quite proud to have many, from all genders and backgrounds. I mean, Aunt Marg is quite the accomplished romanticist. I tip my hat to her heroic hedonism. But not all of her lovers were created equal. Some were downright dastardly. And these portraits that she paints tend to skew toward the eerie. Almost like those fuzzy pictures from the 90s that you had to look at cross-eyed to see like a 3D image emerge. You know what I mean? Am I aging myself? Anyway, Aunt Marg's portraits have a similarly dizzying psychedelic effect. And soon, Sadie finds herself spending her nights at Blackberry Grange, tripping to the confusing canvas continuum of chaos fantastic, where time isn't necessarily interested in behaving properly, the way a good little space-time continuum should. So between Marg and Sadie, things over at the mansion are just a funhouse freakout, and Sadie is the one who's supposed to be there as this caretaking voice of reason. Yet, off she goes to trip on vivid portrait hallucinations that she just finds lying around the house. What she needs to do is pull herself together and figure out what the heck is going on before it's too late for everyone, because things are starting to get out of hand. And Sadie is definitely on the brink of making everything worse. But who can resist the literal escapism of portraiture? I mean, if you had the choice to be a caretaker for a diminishing relative that you barely even know anymore, or taking a magical pigmented pilgrimage into the past, which one would you choose? So that's basically the story of The Artist of Blackberry Grange by Paulette Kennedy. So what are my thoughts? As with other Paulette Kennedy books, I found this one to be deliciously engaging, thanks mostly due to the strong female leads in this book, namely Aunt Marguerite. She's a fast-lane gal with a past that would make a sailor blush. A true bohemian, and not in the quirky scarf, manic pixie dream girl way. In the globe-trotting, scandal-flirting, unapologetic way. Aunt Marg is proof of an alternative life path that doesn't moralize or even settle. And she refuses to shrink herself with the passage of time, even in the face of old age and debilitating dementia. But you do get the feeling that some of that robust ribaldry, while sincere to who she really is as a person, also might be an attempt to outpace some of her mysterious secrets. Because girl has some secrets, okay? What bon vivant worth her salt doesn't? I want to be just like Aunt Marg when I grow up. But I'm more likely to be driven insane like Ophelia, probably at the hands of my very own dolls. Anyway, then there's Sadie. Well, Sadie's a mess, but a compelling mess. She's just operating on the dual flames of grief and heartbreak, which informs some epically terrible decision-making on her part. But what's a girl to do? For her time period, she's basically an old maiden with no prospects in sight. In 1925, women had barely been granted the right to vote. And it would be another 50-something years before a woman would even have the right to her own bank account without some man going along and opening up one for her. So, Sadie is a victim of her time. She's not acting out of malice. She's a woman in crisis. Girl is desperate and vulnerable. And the book doesn't try to pretend like her choices are the best or even necessarily the smartest thing to do, because they really aren't. But she's written to be reactionary. And Sadie knows that Aunt Marguerite is ultimately who she wants to become, if only she can survive this shady Sadie era of her life, as well as the malevolent presence that's been haunting her family for decades. But this entity in question is far too enticing for a girl like Sadie to pass up. Still, dallying with malevolent entities is not a hobby she should be taking up. We know it, she knows it, everyone knows it. But that's the thing about these family heirloom malevolent entities. They're a flirtation with this sense of inevitability. And as with any generational trauma, someone's got to break the cycle. But for Sadie, the right choices are sometimes a little bit of a nuisance, so she might not be the girl for the job. But the book is well paced, so whatever decision Sadie makes is revealed to us in good time. Paulette Kennedy isn't stringing us along like some married man who refuses to leave his wife. I'm looking at you, Sadie. The writing and the mysteries are both evocative enough to keep your focus, especially with the invasive haunted elements of this story. The supernatural activity in this book isn't exactly subtle. These presences need to make their presence apparent. They are boundary-averse menaces with a body count, and they won't soon let you forget it. So there you have it, some of my thoughts on The Artist of Blackberry Grange by Paulette Kennedy. A book where time and space are just made of Play-Doh. It's Little Women if the sisters were all adversaries. It's Dorian Gray meets Anne Rice with Southern Gothic charm. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be doing these book reviews weekly, so if this is your thing, then stay tuned. Oh, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Leave a comment on if you plan on reading this book, or tell me what you think about it if you already have. Drop me your best home remedies for defeating persistent respiratory infections. Seriously, I may not survive the winter, so any helpful hints you have would be greatly appreciated.